Hello, good morning. Welcome to a new week of biology online. Well, today, as I told you last week, we're going to be studying together the final group of plants that we still need to learn about. And yes, you're saying it correctly, it is going to be the group of angiosperms. So first of all, remember that we have seen non-flowering plants studying mosses and ferns, and now we're currently studying flowering plants. We have seen gymnosperms. Today we have to focus in angiosperms, which is the a great group of plants, the most evolved ones, the ones that have been able to adapt to any type of conditions, from deserts to polar regions to normal climatic regions as ours. So yeah, they are the majority of plants. And what is the main characteristic of angiosperms, the one that makes them so special? Exactly, the existence of proper flowers, of real flowers with beautiful colors, as we normally like to see in this moment of the year during spring. So today we're going to focus in angiosperms. Then in our video conference together we will revise everything about them. Then at the end of this week we will study about plant reproduction. We have seen things about plant reproduction together, but we will see it in detail. And then it will just be one tiny part for us to study together of this lesson, which is plant interaction. In that way we will have seen plant nutrition, photosynthesis, plant reproduction, and plant interaction, and we will be done with the lesson. That means that next week we will probably be doing an online questionnaire or test, whatever you want to call it, about the whole lesson, okay? Just in case you want to revise a little bit the concepts, but remember that you have plenty of time for those questionnaires. So let's go for it. Let's go and see first of all in the book where we are. You know that I always like to tell you this. Unit 3, plants. We have seen the main characteristics of them. We have studied plant nutrition, talking about photosynthesis. We have seen non-flowering plants with bryophytes and pteridophytes, mosses and ferns. And we have already seen gymnosperms in the group of flowering plants. But today we're focusing in angiosperms. As I was saying, it is the great majority of plants. I mean, angiosperms are all over the world. They can reproduce sexually as other types of plants as well. Flowers are their reproductive organs. Remember that gymnosperms also have flowers, but they are kind of special. They were the cones, las piñas. In this case, the flowers are going to be the typical ones that we normally consider, yes, the normal ones that we see. As I told you the other day, the flowers in angiosperms normally are hermaphroditic. When we say that an organism is hermaphroditic, we're meaning that they are able to produce the two types of gametes, the two types of sexual cells. We are not hermaphroditic. I'm a woman, I just can produce ovules, and men can just produce sperm cells. So we are not hermaphroditic. We have separated sex, okay? In the case of plants, the same flower is going to be able to produce both the ovule and the pollen grain in this case. Even though there are some exceptions in which a flower produces just pollen grains and flowers produce just ovules, such as in gymnosperms, if you remember last week. But yeah, the great majority of angiosperms are going to be hermaphroditic, meaning that the same flower, so that means the same plant or the same tree, is able to produce the two types of sexual cells. In this case, remember, ovule and pollen grain. Good till here? So we need to study that. We need to study how they're able to do it. And you have a wonderful drawing here in your book. I'm going to start explaining you the parts of the flower here, and then I will do my drawing. Oh, with what? With my new device, remember. Let's see how it looks. Okay, so, well, first of all, I wanted to show you, I mean, you know how wonderful, beautiful they are, with lovely colors, with beautiful smells. I mean, we know everybody loves flowers. We use them in our houses to cheer up, to as a gift for people when they're not feeling fine or when they are celebrating something. It's not very typical that flowers come like in a unique shape. I mean, normally we have groups of flowers together. In the case of daisies, en el caso de las margaritas, which are one of the most common flowers, I don't know if you know it, but each of these tiny dots that you see here, each of them is one flower. Yes, each of them is one flower. very small one. You need magnifying glasses to see the parts, but each of the dots is one flower. So we call that, when we have a group of flowers together, we call that an inflorescence, una inflorescencia. And it is very typical, okay? Well, we have different types of inflorescence, composite, Hispanic, well, you don't need to know this year, but flowers normally come in groups, and these groups of flowers, we call them inflorescence. Today we're going to focus in studying the structure of one flower, but remember that they can come, and they normally come, in groups, okay? And remember, please do not forget about that. Flowers are the reproductive organs of plants, of flowering plants in this case. Non-flowering plants, they reproduce by spores. Good, so what are the main parts of a flower? Okay, your book forgets about the principal branch of the plant that joins the flower to it. This is called the peduncle, okay? There's another word which is going to appear in one of your games. Well, it's very similar to peduncle. I cannot remember right now, sorry. So this is the peduncle. El pedúnculo, que siempre se hace mucha gracia esta palabra en castellano. El pedúnculo une la flor a la planta, okay? Then there is a part which is called the receptacle, el receptáculo, which is like the base of the flower, okay? Then we have the sepals. They are these tiny green leaves that are surrounding the flower, and their function is for protection, okay? The sepals, los sépalos. They form what we call the calyx, el cáliz. So the group of sepals together, they form the calyx. Nice, then they have the sepals, the petals. So similar. The petals, los pétalos, which are the color leaves, which are going to be performing a super important function, which is attracting insects. We will see why later. But yeah, the colors of the petals are attracting insects. The groups of petals together form the corolla, la corolla, and some insects are specialized in just one color of petals. So there are insects that just want to go to yellow flowers or to blue flowers. So specific, okay? Nice, so all these organs would be for protection or for attracting the insects, as I was saying. But the most important parts are here now. We have to distinguish the female part and the male part. The female part is this structure that you see here in the form of a bottle like a glass or something like this. It's more like a bottle. This is called the pistil, el pistilo, and it is the female part. So if it is the female part, what cell is produced inside? Exactly, the ovules, okay, the female cell. Very good. Nice. The pistil is divided into three different parts. The base of the bottle, la base de la botella, the wider part, la parte más ancha, is called the ovary, el ovario, exactly the same as in animals. Then the neck of the bottle is the style, el estilo, the neck of the bottle, the long part. And then the top of the bottle, like the mouth of the bottle, is called the stigma, stigma in Spanish as well, and it performs a very important function because it normally has like sticky substances in it. It is to receive the pollen grain. So as it is sticky, the pollen grain falls in the stigma and it is stuck there to perform its function, which is to arrive to the ovule, okay? So the pistil, female part, with the ovary, the style, and the stigma, the three parts of this kind of bottle-like structure. And then we have the male part, which is the stamen, el estambre en castellano, stamen, stambre. There can be 4, as you see here, or just 2, or there can be hundreds of them. Sometimes they are born from the base, from the receptacle, sometimes they are born from the style, but well, you can have many different types of them. We distinguish 2 parts, the long part, which is called the filament, el filamento, and then the top of the stamen, which is normally a little bit wider, es un poquito más ensanchado que el filamento, it's called the anther, la antera, antera in Spanish. And in the anther, it's where the flower produces the male cells, which remember, they are the pollen grains. Good? So we will study this in detail next Friday, but the flower reproduction takes place in the way that I'm going to explain that to you. The pollen grain is produced in the anthers. Well, not just one. Thousands of pollen grains are produced here. They are blown away by the wind or by insects. And when they arrive to the stigma, they are stuck in the stigma, se quedan aquí pegaditos, and they develop a tube, which goes down to the ovary to arrive to the ovules. And what happens when the pollen grain joins the ovule? We said that last week. Pollen grain plus ovule together, that's the seed. That's the plant baby. That's what later is going to germinate and produce a new and wonderful plant. Good? So let's go to the most important part of the video, which is my drawing, okay? I'm going to reproduce this flower to explain to you better the different parts, and we can practice this together, and you can also reproduce this flower in your notebook, okay? So let's go to the paint. I take my new pen. Let's see how it looks, okay? Good. So let's select different colors for you to understand it better. So what was the name of the tiny branch that joins the flower to the plant? Remember, it is called the peduncle, el pedúnculo floral que decimos en castellano. Okay, then we're going to have like a base for the flower, which is called the receptacle, el receptáculo. I don't write bad with this. And then surrounding the receptacle, we're going to have some tiny green leaves for protection, which are called the, am I hearing it? Yes, the sepals, okay? They form the calyx, forman el cáliz floral. Good, so this, to start with, that would be for protection, but then we're going to have some wonderful color leaves. I have selected red. I feel like red today. How do we call these color leaves which are going to be attracting insects? Very good. They are the petals. Nice. They form the corolla, forman la corolla. Good. So after we have these, we have to go to the reproductive parts. And remember that we have distinguished two. I'm going to paint in purple. Uy, 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 uy. Well, not bad, not bad. I normally do it better in the school. Okay, the whole thing, the female part is called the pistil, el pistilo. And we distinguish three parts. Well, inside of them, inside the pistil, what am I drawing here? Very good, the tiny ovules, okay? But remember that we distinguish the final part, the upper part, which is called the stigma, with the sticky substances to trap the pollen grain. Then the neck of the bottle, if you remember, is called the style, el estilo, okay? And then the lower part of the bottle, with this wider area, it's the ovary, with, I just draw them, the ovules inside. Let me remember something. Depending on the number of ovules, then that fruit that is developed from the flower will have a different amount of seeds. So if there is just one ovule, just one pollen grain arrives there, just one seed. For example, can you think about fruits with just one seed inside? Peach, for example, los melocotones, or cherries, they just have one seed inside, las cerezas as well. If there are more ovules, more seeds. For example, in an apple, we have up to 8 seeds, for example. But then if you take a watermelon or a melon, then the number of seeds is a lot of them, okay? So depending on the number of ovules, that way, that fruit developed from this flower will have less or more seeds inside, okay? Let's come back to the drawing and finish it. Nice, so what is left for us is to show where we have the male part. Let's draw some of them. Uy, uy. I'm going to draw some of them here as well. Okay, how do we call them? We call them the stamens. los estambres. And we distinguish two parts, the filament, el filamento, which joins the stamen to the flower, and then the upper part, which is the anther, la antera. Okay? So in this way, imagine that this anther is producing pollen grains. All these dots that I'm drawing are the pollen grains. Some of them, thanks to the wind or to insects, are going to arrive to the stigma, and they will finally develop a tube to arrive to one ovule. And once they join together, they will form a seed, or 2 or 4 or 6, as I have drawn here. Haha! So we are done. Not bad, huh? For me to be the first drawing that I do here. I'm kind of proud of myself. What do you think? Okay, so I hope that you like this lesson about angiosperms. Remember that the rest of the organs and everything in the organization of the plant is the same as in any other plant, with the roots, the stem, the leaves, the xylem, the phloem to transport the sap. Everything is the same. So the most important thing about gymnosperms is that they have flowers, and from these flowers they reproduce, and they produce the seeds, which are going to be inside a fruit. That's the key, flowers and fruits. I hope that you like it. We're going to revise this together in the video conference next Wednesday or Thursday, depending on the group. And well, I want you to do, I told you that there was not going to be homework this week because you have to finish the Leaves Hunt project. I will open the task right now for you to upload them. But I do want you to play a couple of games that I have found in the internet to revise the different parts of the flower. Very easy, you can have fun during 5 minutes or so with them. And that's it. And if you want, as you're working in the notebook, you can do the drawing of the flower related with the angiosperms group. Some of you have asked me, I'm having a lot of work during these days, so I have decided that I'm going to correct your notebooks when we finish the lesson. I am currently, today it's Saturday, so I'm currently correcting your gymnosperms investigation, which you have done wonderfully. And then next week I will correct the project, the Leaves Hunt project, and at the end of the lesson I will correct your notebooks. Okay, so you can keep uploading the pictures. I see them in my mobile phone when you upload the pictures, but don't worry if I don't give you any like fast feedback as I normally do, because I'm going to correct them at the end. Good? So enjoy the video, learn about angiosperms, play the couple of games, and keep working in the project, which is what you have to do, and in your notes. Okay? Kisses with flowers. Bye.